The Wizard and the Out-of-Place Artifacts, messages from forgotten timelines. The Wizard was sitting comfortably in his private office, a steaming cup of coffee beside him, while rain tapped softly against the windows. A video played quietly on the screen. The topic was one of his favorites. Out-of-place artifacts. Objects that seem to exist where they should not exist. Objects that appeared to belong to another age. Another civilization. Another timeline. Or perhaps another story entirely. The Wizard smiled. This was dangerous territory. Not dangerous in the physical sense. Dangerous because it encouraged curiosity. And curiosity had always gotten him into trouble. Or adventures. Sometimes both. Many years ago, while wandering through libraries in search of knowledge, the Wizard had discovered the writings of Charles Fort. Fort was a collector of mysteries. He gathered reports that conventional science often ignored. Strange objects. Unexplained events. Impossible discoveries. Artifacts found in places where they supposedly could not exist. The Wizard had been fascinated ever since. Not because every story was true, but because every story asked a question. Questions were often more valuable than answers. On this particular evening, the Wizard imagined himself hosting a meeting in an old library somewhere between time and space. The walls stretched upward forever. Books floated gently through the air. Clocks ticked at different speeds. Some ran backward. Some stood still. One clock appeared to be arguing with itself. The Wizard took a seat at a large wooden table. Soon his guests began arriving. The first to arrive was Captain First. The mysterious traveler. Sometimes appearing young. Sometimes old. Sometimes seeming to remember events that had not yet happened. He sat down and nodded. "You've been studying artifacts again," he said. The Wizard laughed. "Guilty," Captain First smiled. "Every civilization leaves clues." The second visitor appeared unexpectedly. A dusty archaeologist carrying notebooks. Her pockets overflowed with maps. She introduced herself simply as Dr. Stone. "I investigate lost cities," she explained. "Most mysteries turn out to have ordinary explanations," Captain First nodded. "Most," he replied. The room grew quiet. Dr. Stone opened a folder. Inside were examples. Ancient mechanisms. Precision stonework. Metal objects recovered from unusual locations. Maps that appeared surprisingly accurate. Artifacts that did not fit neatly into accepted narratives. "Most of these," she said, "have multiple possible explanations." The Wizard nodded. That was an important lesson. Mysteries do not automatically prove extraordinary conclusions. Sometimes evidence is incomplete. Sometimes assumptions are wrong. Sometimes history is more complicated than anyone expected. Captain First reached into his coat. He produced a brass compass. The Wizard immediately recognized it. Or thought he did. It looked suspiciously similar to the old nautical compass he had recently discovered at a yard sale. Captain First set it on the table. "This compass," he said, "always points toward questions." The Wizard laughed. "That sounds inconvenient." "It is." The compass needle spun wildly. Then stopped. Not pointing north. Pointing toward a bookshelf. The group walked over. There they found books concerning ancient Egypt, the Roman Empire, megalithic construction, lost technologies, Tartarian theories. Industrial archaeology. Alternative history. Time travel fiction. Every book contained clues. And every book contained assumptions. Dr. Stone spoke. The real mystery isn't the artifact. The wizard looked puzzled. What is? The real mystery is why people interpret the same artifact differently. That observation struck him deeply. Two people could look at the same object. One saw evidence of forgotten engineering. Another saw evidence of trade. Another saw evidence of coincidence. Another saw evidence of time travel. The artifact remained unchanged. The interpretation changed. Captain First leaned back. Suppose, he said, that history is less like a straight line and more like a braided river. The wizard immediately liked that image. Multiple channels. Sometimes separating. Sometimes merging. Sometimes disappearing underground. Sometimes resurfacing. The river remained one river. Yet many paths existed within it. The conversation turned toward some of the wizard's favorite topics. Lost civilizations. Ancient engineering. Massive stone structures. Forgotten construction techniques. Impossible precision. Hidden tunnels. Submerged cities. Mysterious maps. The group agreed on one thing. Ancient people were often far more capable than modern society gives them credit for. The wizard remembered all the stories he had heard over the years. Time travelers. Super soldiers. Disclosure researchers. Inventors. Engineers. Dreamers. Whistleblowers. Scientists. Mystics. Some were probably mistaken. Some exaggerated. Some told remarkable truths. Most existed somewhere in between. Human beings are complicated storytellers. The library suddenly flickered. A new visitor appeared. A cat. Nobody knew where it came from. The cat jumped onto the table and sat directly on top of an ancient manuscript. The manuscript immediately became inaccessible. The cat looked pleased. Captain First sighed. Temporal cat. The wizard nodded. Of course. Very dangerous. What does it do? It sits on important information. The cat yawned. The room erupted with laughter. Hours passed. The discussion continued. Eventually the wizard realized something important. Perhaps the greatest artifact was not a strange object. Perhaps the greatest artifact was memory itself. Every civilization leaves memories. Every generation leaves stories. Every person leaves experiences. The challenge is learning how to preserve them. And how to interpret them honestly. As the meeting ended, Captain First picked up the strange compass. Dr. Stone gathered her notes. The cat refused to move. The wizard watched them disappear into different doorways. Some led to the past. Some led to the future. Some led somewhere stranger. Before leaving, Captain First turned and spoke one final sentence. Keep asking questions. The wizard smiled. That was something he could do. The coffee had grown cold. The video had ended. The rain continued outside. And somewhere, perhaps in another timeline entirely, another mystery waited to be discovered. After all, the universe has always enjoyed hiding treasures where curious people might find them. God bless. Global Robotics Corporation. Robert Coley.